Okay, hello everyone. Let's begin with the webinar. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for being here today and mention that we are recording the session so that those who were not able to attend the webinar will be able to watch it in the future. My name is Borja Guillén. I am the account manager of the solutions department in Innova. And the objective of this session is to introduce our solutions belonging to our suite InTools, show their functionality through a demo, and explain our site in online, stating why it is essential when setting up and managing our solutions. Therefore, the agenda we are going to cover is the following. First, we will cover a brief introduction of our company, as well as the applications. We will state the modalities in which these InTools can be used. We will also perform a demo of each application, and then we will finish the session with a question and doubt section. Okay, so now let's provide a brief introduction of our company. Innova is one of the few Microsoft's ISV development centers worldwide, and it's the only one speaking Spanish. We provide services for both finance and operations and Business Central, including our own solutions, which are supported by these ERPs. Our headquarters are established in Castellón, Spain, and our team is formed by more than 50 professionals with over 17 years of experience. Okay. As aforementioned, we offer our own solutions, which are divided into suites. One of them is the suite eSign, whose main feature is the digital signature. Within this suite, we may find eSign Facturae, available for both Business Central and Financial Operations, and this solution is able to generate and sign digital invoices. But on the other hand, we may find eSign ePDF, which is available for Business Central, and this solution is able to digitally sign any PDF file. Nonetheless, well, these solutions will be deeply explained in another webinar. On the other hand, the suite InTools includes InTranslate, InData Manager, and InApps Analyzer. In today's session, we want to introduce all these solutions. Hence, the structure to follow is an explanation of each solution, and right after we will proceed with a demo for also each of the InTools. So let's focus now on the explanation of the solution. As you may know, InTranslate is able to easily create XLF files in any language available in Business Central. It also provides a fluent maintenance and update of the translation and process and automated services of translations. On the other hand, InData Manager modifies or deletes system records. With this solution, the user will be able to make any modification or reversion of modification or elimination and reversion of deletions of system records. You can do all these modifications in a controlled way. It is important to mention that we have uploaded a specific localization of the solution for each country, which is available in Business Central. Therefore, we must install the localizations in which we want to perform the modification, but also the generic version of InData Manager should be installed. Okay. In this case, the process is completed automatically, but we have to bear in mind that both the localization and the generic version of the tool must be installed in our system. Finally, InApps Analyzer is a solution that allows you to analyze in detail the objects of the system extensions. Also, it is possible to check which objects are used in each extension and which ones are free. You can also check the free gaps and if you have informed the ranges of your extensions. Furthermore, with the Check Ranges tool, you can check if a range enters or may conflict with objects or ranges of other extensions within our system. Okay, we are going to see that functionality in a while. But regarding the modalities available, so far our InTools were only available on a Business Central environment. After that, we developed InData Manager for an on-premise environment due to the high demand of such application. Nowadays, all InTranslate, InData Manager, and InApps Analyzer are available both on Business Central Cloud and on-premises. In order to get these applications for, in this case, for an on-premise environment, it is necessary to contact us informing the exact version in which these solutions are needed, and we will forward a package accordingly, okay? So that's important to take into consideration. So let's jump now into the demo, but first, I would like to show you our website in Innova, which is crucial when setting up and managing our solutions. Okay, it's important also to see that here you can switch the languages. Now it's in English. So in the main visual interface of the site, you may find all the solutions provided by our company. If we go into each solution, for example, let's go into InTranslate. The web page will display an introduction and a thorough tutorial of that solution. Also, the user will be able to analyze the different plans available. Okay, in this case for InTranslate, but if we go into each solution, we will see the plans for a given solution. Okay. It's also important to mention that all our solutions can be downloaded at Microsoft Marketplace App Stores, and only by registering in our site you will be able to utilize them. Okay, now we're going to log in with a real account for you to see what can you expect from registering our site. Okay, here, that's the customer ID. And this customer ID is essential since afterwards we will have to introduce it in the setup wizard, and in some cases we will need it in order to perform, for example, in Data Manager, we need this customer ID to perform some modifications or elimination of system records. Okay, so we have to identify this ID. Also, in this visual interface, we can also check which solutions we have available in our user. Again, if we get into each solution, let me go into InTranslate. Okay, let me switch again the language. We can find the hired plan and the recommended plan according to the usage of that solution. For example, the recommended plan for my case, in my case, is the plan 20. Okay. Now we can go ahead with the demo of the solutions, and let's start with InTranslate. So we have to set up the profile in this case. Okay, the role, which is InTranslate, the company, the date, and the language. So simple. So regarding InTranslate, in previous versions of Navision, we had to use Caption ML to do the translations in different languages. In this updated version in Business Central, the translations are done using a XLIF file. Therefore, through a XLIF file generated by the system, if we wanted to do a translation in a different language, we should create these files each time, but with a different language. Our solution is able to do exactly this, but in quite a simple way. Through the same original file, we will be able to generate the translated ones. Okay, we're going to see it in a while. So once we have downloaded our solution from App Stores and we have completed the register in our site, the user will have its customer ID, as I have shown you, which is going to be necessary when setting up the solution. Thus, the first thing to work on is, of course, the configuration of the application. Okay, let's go to Assisted Setup. InTranslate, where are you? Here, okay. So in this configuration menu, we will need to introduce the customer ID, okay, like here. And once we have done that, we will need to set up the languages we're going to use. So let's get into it. And in this visual interface, the user is able to check the languages that are already set up in our system. We will need to introduce the ISO code accordingly to the language we want to utilize. In this case, for example, I have set up in this case, English, Spanish, and Italian, since these are the three languages that we are going to use in our demo. Okay. Once this configuration is completed, we can start to do the translations. Let's go back. But How does this work? When we own a solution, a XLF file is produced, which is composed by several nodes. These nodes are referencing all the caption, tooltips, or labels of the solution. Therefore, through these captions, tooltips, and labels, a XLF file is created. If we want to do the translation of this, theoretically, we should copy this file, generate a new one, and modify its target, adding a new node to do the translation. Our solution can do all this process automatically. Okay? So, the first step is to get into the translations. In here, okay, several actions will be displayed. Among these actions, update captions, create translation file, load translation file, and translate captions should be highlighted since they are quite important. Okay, so let's imagine now that we want to generate a translation file for one of our solutions. We don't have a translation done yet, hence we're going to use the update caption tool, this one. This tool is going to ask for the language in which we want to do the translation. For example, Spanish. It's going to be the first sample. Okay, Spanish, please. Okay, here. And now it's going to ask for the base translation file, the one that the system is going to automatically generate. Okay, it's here. Okay, I have this here. And once it is imported, it will create some lines in which we can start to function. Okay, let me edit the list. So the information to be found in this section are the nodes, language, caption, and also the caption ML section. In this latter part, we will add the translation from which the translation file will be generated. To make a demonstration, I'm going to fill in the translation in these gaps. For example, real quick, Spanish. Okay. Very quickly. Okay, so we are ready now to create a translation file. Using the functionality, of course, create translation file. The system will inform us that the file is going to be created, and then we have to indicate the language code here. And once again, we have to import the base translation file, Okay, this one. So, okay, let's wait a little bit. It's working on it and it's processed. Once the okay, I'm going to select it again, the proper folder, and it's this one, yeah. So when the file is created, the system will suggest a name according to the name of the solution and the language we're going to use. Okay, let's save it. And if we go now to our application, we can check that a new translation file with a different target has been generated, as you can see here. This new file includes the original target and the new translated one, which is what we needed in order to generate our translation file. Okay, so simple like that. As simple as that. Okay, let me remove these lines to show you another example. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so another functionality we can use is, say we already have a solution with its translation. As for example, this case, we have just done a new translation file, and I just want to modify some, and I just want to do some modifications. Instead of manually doing them here, we have a functionality which will allow us to load the translation file. Okay, when loading it, the system is claiming that if we have any data, it will be erased. Okay, once again, we have to introduce the language code, Spanish. But this time, we have to import the translated file, okay? Not the base one, because we want to do some modifications on the translated file. So now the file is already loaded, and if we want to do any modification, for example, something very visual like this, now we can already generate a new translation file, okay? I'm done doing the modifications. I just want to create a new translation file. Again, I have to input Spanish, which is here. And again, we have to import this time the base translation file, because from this file, the translated ones will be generated. Okay. Let's just overwrite it. Yeah. And if we go into our app, we can see that the modifications have been done properly. Okay. Let me remove the lines to show you another example. And another modality available is, for example, if we want to select a different language of the aforementioned. The process to follow would be quite similar. I mean, we don't have the translation done for any other language. What we want is to use a completely new language. Therefore, we have to use the update captions tool. We will have to select the new language, say, for example, this time Italian, which is the third language we have configured. And again, I have to import the base translation file, this one. Okay. So once this is done, the system has created new lines for the Italian version. But it's necessary that we fulfill these new translations. In the first example, I was able to do it on my own because I can't speak Spanish, and there were like only 5 lines, and I was able to do it manually. But this time, I don't know any Italian. I don't know anything about Italian. Therefore, through the Actions menu, we have the functionality that can translate them automatically. Okay, so let's do it. It is necessary to introduce the language code, again the Italian, where are you, and the solution name. And all the lines that were untranslated will be translated by this automatic translation file. Okay, good. The translation have already been done, and now we can generate a new translation file. Okay, through Actions, create translation file, Italian. Okay, and again the base translation file. Okay, let's save it, and we can check in our system that the file has been created with the proper translations in Italian, like here the source language and the target language. Okay, so in the role center interface, a detailed information about the usage is displayed. For example, the lines we have in our solution, whether they are translated or not, and if we go into each, for example, the translated lines, well, not this section, sorry, the next one, this one, we have the information of the lines and also to which solution they belong. Okay. In input translations, we have for example, the section if we want to indicate that a given caption should not be translated, we can just indicate it here. Some kind of developer notes, for example, how to translate a given word. We can just specify that translation here. And the max width to utilize for each translation, okay? In this case, is the amount of characters to utilize in a translation. So that would be it regarding in translate. Let's move now to in data manager. Okay, data manager, where are you? Here. Okay, so regarding, regarding in data manager, this solution allows the user to do exactly the same as Object Designer used to do. If we need to change any information in a table, since it was not possible to do it from our system, we have to use the Object Designer and create a new process to do this work for us. For this scenario, we have created a new solution that, in a simple way, it allows the user to do these modifications or deletions of records. It is mainly aimed at Business Central developers, since if there's any modification or deletion to do of any system record, we must know exactly what we have to do. So likewise, in Translate, we will need a customer ID. Then again, it can be obtained through our portal in online in order to properly utilize this solution. But in Data Manager, for security reasons, this ID must be introduced in every modification or deletion we perform. Okay, so in the role center, we will find the changes templates and the deletions templates. In this case, we're going to start with the changes templates. And the 4 first templates, these templates are predetermined by our solution to do a modification of, for instance, a sales invoice. But for this demo, we have created an additional template to modify the information of a customer. But again, you can create as many templates as you want. So in order to get into it, let's get into the table settings. Okay. Okay, let's just wait some seconds. So in this interface, we can configure the tables, filters, and fields we want to modify. In this case, I want to filter the customer number 10,000, and I want to see and modify the fields number and name. Okay. So when I have this template configured, I can go into the changes matrix. Right? And let's load the data to modify. Okay. So now displayed, we can see that the data we have filtered to be modified, and we can do some modifications. For example, like this, I'm just going to change the name of the customer. And now we can save the data in our system. As I have said, as a confirmation, we need to introduce the customer ID. Okay, it's important to verify that we didn't introduce any gap at the beginning or at the end of the customer ID. Otherwise, it will recognize it as an incorrect customer ID. Okay. So now, let's check into our list. Customers list here. I want to see if the modification has. Okay, as you can see, the name of the customer has been modified. If you want to reverse that modification because it has been a mistake or there is something wrong with it, we can go to the changes executed. We have to get into the last one because that's the most updated modification we have performed. We have the date, but in case we have performed some modification within the same day, the last one is the most updated one. And through actions, I can revert the changes. Again, customer ID, and let's check our list. Okay, now we can see that the client has its original name, okay, without the test on it. Right. For the deletions templates, we are going to use the same template, okay, and in this case to eliminate a customer. But this time, we want to delete a customer instead of modifying any information from it. In this case, we only have to input the table of, in this case, the customer, the table customer, and the filter. The filters are very important. In this case, I have filtered by number 10,000, but if I don't filter it, the system will display a list of all our customers. Okay, that's why we have to be very, very careful within Data Manager. Okay, I have filtered it. I have filtered it, and now deletion metrics. Okay. And I have to load data to delete. Now, displayed, we can see the information we have previously configured. Okay, we can check whether we want indeed to delete this customer. And let's delete the record from our system. Customer ID, so confirmation. And let's go to our list. Customer list. And as you can see, the customer number 10,000 is not there anymore. Okay, it has been successfully deleted from our system, but now, because I think it's a mistake, I'm going to revert it. Again, deletions executed, the last one, and revert deletions. Okay, customer ID. And again, I'm going to check it. And as you can see, the customer number 10,000, which is Adatum Corporation, is back on our list. Okay, so that would be regarding in Data Manager. It's very simple, but again, it can be very dangerous. And now let's move to in Apps Analyzer to finish the session. Okay, my settings, and where are you in Apps and Apps here? So when the solution is installed, the user can find a work area that indicates the role of in-apps analyzer. Okay, and once this profile is established, it will show some kind of details. In this case, the amount of extensions, ranges, and objects we have in our system. An important function is that in this interface, we can check the amount of objects that are being used in the range 50,000. Besides, in the work area, we can get into the setup menu, which shows the configuration for the solution. In this case, it's very simple. We only have to introduce the customer ID. And as a reminder, this customer ID can be found in our website once we register in Innova Online. Okay. And let's begin with the extensions. Okay. In this field, the system is going to show all the extensions that we have already set up in Business Central. In this case, the base application, and where is it? The system application, which I can't find right now. The system application, they are predetermined by Microsoft in each solution. But in this case, we can also see the name of the extension, its version, the publisher, and a check indicating whether this extension is indeed installed or not. Okay, so let's go into in-apps analyzer, and one of the functionalities is to set ranges, which is going to be explained in detail in a minute. And through related, we can have access to the dependencies of each extension. As you can see, this extension is using the dependency of system and base applications, okay? And also one name Innova line, which is it's a solution that we use internally to create a connectivity with our website. Okay. Another tool is to take a list of all the objects included in each extension. In this case, we can see the fields such as type, object type, and object subtype, the ID, the name, the caption, and the extension name. All right. So another method to check the object in detail is the one called show objects detail, of course. In this case, we can observe all the objects we have, but divided in type of object. In these columns, we can check the objects that are being used, and the slots we have free. It is really useful to know these slots, these gaps, in case we need to develop or use any object. It is interesting to know if we have any gap, any free gap, any free slot to use it. The field free objects deals with the ranges, which are going to be explained now. Okay. But in order to show you the functionality of the free slots, I'm going to get into an extension that I know it has some free gaps. Example here in Translate. And we can see that in the object type table, there are 6 used objects and 1 which is free. If I get into the free slots, I can see that the object ID within table is the one ending in 29, and I can operate on it. Okay. So now let's go back into in-apps analyzer, and now let's check the set ranges tool. Again, taking as an example in-apps analyzer, we have already established that the range of the solution, which goes from this number to this number. If we go now to show objects detail, we can observe the objects that are currently free. It is useful to know this information because if we take now the type of object page, we can see that 12 objects are being used, but there are 988 which are free. If we click on the objects that are free, the system is going to show from lowest to highest all the objects that we can utilize, which is also useful when introducing new objects. Okay, this is it regarding the information about extensions. But if our idea right now is to start a new solution, one of the hardest things to decide is the range of objects to use, and especially which objects can I use in the range 50,000. Since Object Designer is not available anymore, we can't be informed about the objects that are being used. Logically, we are willing to use this range 50,000 to develop our new extension, but most likely it is going to be in use. For this scenario, we created the take ranges tool. We just have to input the initial and final range, for example, something like this from this. And the system will display the objects, the extensions, and range extensions that are being used within this range. In this case, as you can see, the system indicates that there are 12 objects in this range. If I get into it, I can see the object type of the objects, the subtype, the ID, the name, the caption, and also the extension name. It also says that there are 1 extension in this range. There is one, in this case, there is 1 extension in this range, which is Capture Connect, but there are no extension ranges in conflict within this range. Okay, this is because it's a demo environment, but probably in a real environment, you may have some extension ranges within this range. Okay, so all in all, that's what our solutions can offer you. Let's jump now into the questions and doubts section, okay? So you can use the chat in the GoToWebinar tool or the question section to forward any inquiry. I'm just going to give you some minutes for you to type down the questions, okay? In the meantime, I would like to remind you that our solutions can be downloaded for a Business Central Cloud in App Stores, but if you need them for an on-premise environment, you must contact us informing the version in which these solutions are needed, and we will forward a package for this version, okay? So I'm just going to give you some minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you one more minute before we finish the session. Okay, so if you don't have any other question, we can finish the session. Just remember that if you have any inquiry or any other questions, you can send them to my email, which is begjen@innovaconsulting.s, and I can just answer them through email. So we hope you found this webinar useful, and see you in our next sessions. Thank you very much for being here today.